So just imagine in 2011, Ford stopped making the Crown Victoria, and the cops didn't get these anymore. To this day, they're still rolling around in LA in use by the LAPD, but they can't ever get this car again on the Panther chassis. They can't get this incredible car that the cops loved the most because that was the last of them, never to be built again. And then they started bringing out all these SUVs and all this other stuff that, frankly, the cops will make jokes about, that they're driving grocery getters and stuff as police cars. They love this thing, and frankly, civilians love these things as well, and they can't get them. The big, giant, heavy monstrosity of a sedan with a huge trunk, a big V8, a solid frame chassis that can handle a massive accident, and you come out of it alive, and you just couldn't get them anymore. And I got to imagine people were screaming, it's the last one, so I've got to have it. And then in 2013-14, they announced the Gallardo would never be built again. It was going to leave. The baby Lambo. The baby Lambo was about $3,500, I think, a year, about, 13 or 14,000 total ever built, compared to what we're dealing with the Dodge product, where there's millions of them on the road. And this car, everybody knew, was going to go away in its current form, and they're going to bring out the Huracan, which was a very, very...
But then the worst thing happened to you that could happen to any fighter. You got civilized.
Version, and significantly improved version, of the Lamborghini with a V10, but with a dual clutch and one of the most comfortable driving supercars and most reliable supercars you could ever get. And there were people in 2013 and 14 clamoring to get these things. They're last run cars, they're Performantes, there are special versions of them in those years. There's the Squadra Corsas, and these cars were supposed to be the cars to, like, you had to get it before it was gone. And to this day, while they're still priced very well, they didn't quadruple or triple in value, and there were very few of these made in comparison to the Dodge product. I hate to make the comparison, but we're going to talk about this in a second because people are doing some crazy things. Then you've got the Dodge Charger. Frankly, a car I love and enjoy probably more than any of my cars. I love these cars. Somebody got mad at me for calling it a cheap American car, and that is what I love about it. I've driven and owned so many Mercedes S-Classes and AMGs and BMW M Series and Audis and all those high-end foreign cars, expensive foreign cars, and I fell in love about 5 years ago with a cheap American car. When I say cheap, I mean priced low with tons of quality and incredible performance for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Even when Hellcats were in the 60s and 70s, they were amazing for what you got for the money, and I switched. And I haven't bought one of those expensive foreign cars since then. Last 5 years, I have not bought one at all. Now, bought my wife a expensive foreign car, but for me, other than the Lamborghini, really, there's nothing I would buy that I think is more fun than this car. And I love that they were cheap American cars, because that, even though they were, now they're being built by a European company in Canada, they're still American cars at the core. Of course, I digress again, built on a Mercedes chassis. But let me get back to it. Cheap American cars that you can buy for a reasonable amount of money and have a hell of a lot of fun with, and burn the tires and drive the hell out of them. They're very reliable, and when they break, they're not super expensive to fix. And that's what I loved about these things. It was something that anybody could aspire to and reach to get, coming from a blue-collar family. That was what I loved about it, is anybody, young people, older people, high income, low income, the car was for everybody. And now they've priced them to the moon to where they're not for everybody. And the people that actually enjoy these cars the most, drive them the most, frankly can't even get those cars. Let's jump in this thing and talk about what people are doing to get their hands on these things. And I had a confidential conversation with a car salesman that will blow your mind when I found out how people are paying all these markups and how this is probably going to end badly for a lot of people. But I wanted to see if I can help you all avoid that nightmare. Let's jump in and have a conversation. All right, we're in the Dodge. So now let me continue. Yes, I know that they said no more gas engines to be sold in California after 2035. And you read the articles, and it looks like there are 3 or 4 other states jumping in with that. And the belief is that somehow that's going to end up all around the country. I can tell you, I don't believe that's going to happen. So we're in a situation now. We have an opportunity to either believe the politicians who have notoriously been lying to us forever. Literally, if you think of the most lying position someone can hold on the planet, it would be a politician. On both sides, okay? Now, that just is how it is. The second you get elected to a public position of politics where there's power involved, the lies continue. That just is what it is. But now, we suddenly believe the politicians who have been lying to us forever that we're not going to be able to buy these gas engine cars anymore. I can tell you, my gut tells me that these liars are lying to us again because they're doing it to get themselves into office. When they're out of office, somebody else comes into office. When they can't fulfill or sustain the building of these electric cars, and the grid can't handle the electric cars, and the cobalt becomes a bigger issue because people actually catch on to the horrible atrocities tied to mining cobalt. Look it up. The lithium tragedies that are taking place to mine lithium. And while technology is trying to get past those, no question, and use other products, other materials, that will be a while, and they likely will be more expensive. If they're cheaper, cool, doesn't matter. There will be additional problems that come along with it, that these things will get kicked down the road. But then Dodge says, we're done making the Hemi L cars. That's it. Okay, cool. But they don't say, we're done making gas engines. And we can pretty much bet that if they put all their money on an electric Charger Banshee, that they're going to have some trouble, some big trouble. One, even producing enough vehicles to deliver to the market for them to find profitability would be a challenge, which means they're probably going to have to come out with a gas option. And it could be that Hurricane engine, could be that twin-turbo six-cylinder. I believe that we're not seeing the end of these gas engines. Let's jump into the other lying entity, which is, frankly, the car manufacturers. They say, Dodge says, we're never going to build the thing again. We're not going to build it. We're going to go electric muscle. Why would anybody believe them this time and not think that they're going to come out with a gas engine in a muscle car, some version? I would bet anything there's going to be options with that Charger that are gas engines. Could be totally wrong, but watch. That's the kind of maneuver they would do. When I talk about the lying, well, if we have a long pattern and history of not telling the truth or half-truths, then why don't we just embrace that and say, yeah, they're going to tell us what we need to know or what they want us to hear, and then change their mind later. Do I think the Hemis are coming back? Probably not. Hard for them to reverse that plan. That would be really, really a hard move. But will they provide a newer, more modern, fuel-efficient gas engine that will be ridiculously fast and fun and make noise and sounds and be in a beautiful-looking car that people are going to want? Probably. And that, when that's announced, I believe that will be something that hurts the value of these cars that we have right now. But so many of you are so convinced that these things are going to go to the moon. People are so out of control on buying these cars with the markups that I had to ask some questions about where is the money coming from? Is it just a whole bunch of independently wealthy people that are dropping $50, $100, $200,000 markups on the Banshee or a Red Eye for $10, $15, $20, up to $50,000 markups on a Red Eye jailbreak, or $15,000 to $25,000, in some cases $50,000 on a 717 Hellcat jailbreak, narrow body Hellcat, $10,000 to $15,000 markups I've been finding. How are they paying these things? Because if this many people, this is thousands of people, have that much extra cash, where is it coming from? Do they just have it? So I spoke to a salesperson, And here's what I found out. Can't say who, can't get into the details, but this all completely makes sense. Because my question is, where are they getting the money? Is this just a bunch of rich people? And they're saying no. Not in all cases. In some cases, absolutely. People are sitting on money and they are able to do it. And frankly, I don't have a big, huge problem with that. If you're independently wealthy, you've got, 500 grand sitting in the bank and you're 70 years old and you've got 20 years left of living on this planet, and you want to drop 200 grand of that money since you can't take it with you and buy that car and enjoy it, knock yourself out. But that's not what's happening out there with some folks. And I couldn't believe when I heard this. And this is what I wanted to share with you all. Because if I can help one of you out there to avoid making a catastrophic financial mistake, then I will have served my purpose with this YouTube channel. That's my goal. If I can help you save yourself a horrible, horrible financial mistake, then I win. And then if you do it with knowing this information, then I'm good with it too. That's on you. I don't care what you do with your money. It's your money. This is America. You want to pay too much for something, knock yourself out. But what I'm hearing is the fear of missing out is so intense with some people, especially with this Banshee, that they're putting themselves way out there to try and be early in with this car. And let me tell you what I found. And I wrote these things down. Another point, real quick. One more point, though, before I do. I want to make the point that there are more of these Banshees, sadly, being bought by speculators and collectors than actual car enthusiasts. Dealerships, are buying these cars. Owners of dealerships are buying these cars. We know because one of the calls I made to one of the dealerships by me out here in Southern California said that they had like 3 or 4 2018 Demons with no miles on them because the dealer or the owner of the dealership bought them and it has been hoarding them all this time. And suddenly, that same dealership, rumor is that all their allocations were gone the first day for the new Demon 170. Could it be that he did it again, bought his allocations up, and now are going to try to match those numbers and try to gross somebody on selling them a matching set? That could absolutely happen. And then you're going to see these things, a pair of them going for $500,000, $600,000. And like he did in 2018, he sat on them all these years without selling them, speculating whether they're going to go up in value. I looked up the Superbird, 1970 Superbird. Only 1,900, I think it was 1,935 of those were made. Vast majority of people who bought those drove them and had fun. You can tell by the ones you see for sale. Those were so few were made that yes, they are worth $200,000 to $300,000 today. But think about this. That's 53 years ago. Somebody had to sit on these cars to be able to get this thing to be worth what it's worth today. And a lot of them were driven and destroyed, which increased the value because there were less out there. So with the Banshee, or not the Banshee, so with the Demon 170, so many of these are going into garages as collector's cars that it's likely that even 53 years later, there's going to be 2,000 of these things, or let's just say 1,000 of these things, or 1,500 of these things that have never been driven because these people are hoping they're going to get rich off of that car. It's just a very different situation. But let's talk about how these people are paying for these markups. All right? This is crazy. So I was told that people are pulling second mortgages out on their houses. I even heard about a guy that was pulling a first mortgage out on his paid off house to pay for the car. So spent 30 years to pay off his house only to get so caught up in the FOMO to now mortgage his house to buy this car in hopes that he won't lose any money on the car. The problem is if you pay $200,000, it's kind of like paying, I don't know, $100,000 for a Superbird back in 1970, and then with inflation showing up with that car and being in the same exact boat. So this guy probably won't ever see his money again because the profit is being taken up front by the dealership. If you get it at sticker, yes, you got a great chance of that car making you some money. But if you pay a humongous markup, the 53 years of appreciation on that car is being taken today. Maybe it's 20 years appreciation, but it's getting taken today upfront by the dealership, and you will never see that money. Another one was, this one's crazy, on some of the Hellcats, even Scat Packs on the markups for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. They're using their credit cards to cover their deposit and then cover the markup. Since a lot of banks aren't going to pay the markups, they're going to put it on their credit card at the time of purchase of the car. The dealership will take their money off their credit card. So let's say they have a $25,000 limit on their credit card. They're going to swipe that card. It's not going to show on their credit. The bank's going to give them a loan for their Hellcat. They're going to have a credit card interest rate of 29+% on their credit card just to get their hands on that car, thinking that if they have to sell it, it's okay, they'll just pay off their credit card. It's the rationale that's happening in these brains right now. That's utterly insane. Please don't do that. I remember a time when dealers would not accept credit cards for down payments. I was a lot younger at one time buying cars, and I remember one time I wanted a car so bad that I said, can I put my down payment on a credit card since the bank wants more? And the dealership said, no, that's a stipulation from the bank. It has to be done in a cash or check. It has to be done. I can't take a credit card. That was smart. Now, they're actually figuring out how to do that to cover these, first the deposit, then the actual markup on the car, and then they finance the rest of the car. That's insane. Heard of another guy that was doing a loan against his 401k, his retirement plan, to take a loan out against his retirement to buy a Hellcat. This is friggin' crazy. Am I the only one that thinks this is horrible? Your retirement, the one thing that's going to keep you from eating cat food when you're old, you're going to put in jeopardy, borrow a bunch of money against it, lose your job, actually need to take some money out of that for emergency reasons, or maybe even buy a home with that money, but instead you will have leveraged your 401k, and now you owe them $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 against your 401k. Your retirement, that is sacrosanct as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if you have, I don't know, if you max the thing out every single year for 20 years, you might get $6,000 or $7,000 a month. When you retire, or the equivalent thereof, you're going to put that away and depend on $2,000, $1,500 a month in Social Security, but at least you have a Hellcat and hope that thing's worth a whole bunch of money by the time you retire and you can sell it. This is, that one freaked me out a little bit. The other one I put here, others are ordering the 170. Oh, and they're planning to sell all their cars and tangible assets to be able to pay for the car and the markup. So here's what happens. They got a Rolex that would probably triple in value over the next 20 years. By the way, a proven thing that does, it goes up and down, but it will always have solid value. Let's get rid of that and get a car that's notorious for dropping in value, because we believe the politicians are going to eliminate gas engines, and we believe Dodge is never going to bring back another gas engine that could compete with the Hemi. This is craziness. Like, we got to start using our brains, folks. That one blows my mind. So people are going to sell things of value, generally really good value, to buy something that is notorious for dropping in value, on the gamble that the market's going to just go to the moon on these things, because the politicians, they're being honest with us about eliminating the gas cars, and Dodge is being honest about not bringing out the gas cars and going electric muscle. Listen, folks, we got to start using our brains, and I do these videos to help people grow my channel and support all of you out there with your decisions. But unless you can stroke a check for that markup and it not affect your life, your family, your retirement, your other assets, don't sell your stocks right now because they're down. Wait till they're back up. So don't go selling your stocks when they're down and to buy a car that probably will lose its value. And just be smart. There's a million, even Kaniska said it, there's like a million cars out there, a million Hemis out there running around. This is not a super rare car. Yes, the Banshee's going to be special. That one's got a chance, but get it at MSRP. or don't get it, or keep the markup really low. I don't know, 10, 15, $20,000 maybe, but anything more than that, you're putting yourself at risk. And don't take money out of things like your retirement. Don't max out your credit cards to do this. Don't feel like you have to have this car so bad that you're willing to take a significant risk to do it. If it's not a risk, you have the money and you've saved the money and it's not going to put you in jeopardy, you're not going to be eating cat food, then do whatever you want with your money. But I hope this video helps one person out there stop and think. Don't sell all your stuff just to buy that car unless that stuff has the same likelihood of going down as that car does, or if that car has a better likelihood than whatever it is that you're selling. Don't empty out your retirement account. Don't sell all your stocks. Don't dump assets. Be smart and just make good decisions. So with that, everybody, I'm enjoying all the crazy videos out there about what's going on in this market right now. It is crazy. The markups are stupid. Dealers can care less. It is insane what's taking place out there. So I'll keep you up to date and keep sharing my opinions and ideas. And with that, please like, subscribe, comment, be respectful in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.